three in that bill.
In which bill?
It's in the private chat.
Welcome, everybody, to this week's edition of Liberty First Foundation's Roundtable. We are live, coming to you from New York and North Carolina. Tonight with me, I'm Frank Young, Comic Relief, also one of the co-founders of the Liberty First Foundation, myself, Michael Marshall, and Michael Vasquez, who's a political commentator and constitutionalist, and also runs No Sound Bites Allowed podcast and YouTube channels. And we've also got James joining us as well. Welcome,
Hey,
Jan.
Evening, guys.
So there's a lot of things going on this week. One of the things I do think that we need to touch on is the State of the Union address and how intentionally misleading it was. And I understand that it's outright lies. Okay,
yes,
but
that's what it was.
Let's go beyond that. Okay, because pretty much all State of the Union addresses, regardless of who it is lies. The State of the Union address is essentially a grandstand of the president to say, to this morning, look how well I'm doing as president. But this was almost to the point where it was. I'm honestly at a loss of words on how to even try to describe this.
I can help you.
I mean, I know multiple agencies and so forth did quote unquote fact checks on a lot of the claims made by Biden, and a lot of them were proven false. Aren't these the same type of things that they're going after George Santos for?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So it's okay for me to do it, but it's not okay for you to do it. Is that the mentality that we have now?
Yes.
If you belong in the right party, you can go ahead and lie all you want. But if you're in the wrong party, you better be telling the truth every time you open up your mouth.
Yes.
Is that the way it is?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to verify that.
Yeah, it's really bad. I mean, the thing that got me is, and I was tweeting live throughout the State of the Union, and I have at least, 30 tweets of specific points where Joe Biden was saying things that were absolutely outrageous. I mean, insanely outrageous. But there's one thing that I caught that I haven't noticed anyone else talk about in social media. And I think this is a pretty big one. And you can share this with everyone. So this is the tweet, one of many tweets I made that night, 9:34. So about 25 minutes into the speech. Joe Biden said, "Hey, it's not a party position, so I'm not going to exaggerate."
Yeah, I heard that.
When he started off telling us that he's going to tell us a story, fine, he's painting a picture, whatever you want to call it, but he says directly to the public, "Hey, this is important. This isn't a party position, so I'm not going to exaggerate. I'm going to tell you the truth." So everything else you're telling us is a lie. That's an admission that everything he is saying is an exaggeration and a lie. And if we look at everything that he was saying, yeah, it really was an exaggeration and a lie. And I mean, this is all from just the State of the Union. These are all tweets the same day. Man was absolutely delusional. He lied to everyone consistently and completely. It's like his comment about all of our allies are stepping up and spending more. Japan is building an army because they don't trust the United States. He's trying to spin this like, oh, this is something that he discussed with. No, Japan made the announcement that they're going to build an army in 5 years, spend $325 billion because the U.S. Japan 1960 treaty no longer is being upheld. South Korea is saying that they're going to build their own nukes if we don't give them nukes because they don't believe the United States is going to step up and protect them from North Korea or from China. This is the problem. And that's what he was just out and outright lying and misrepresenting what the public was hearing. And the sad thing is, there's a lot of people that I've seen a lot of comments on this, and people just go, "What do you mean?" He said it. It must be true. He wouldn't go on TV and say that. It's terrifying.
Well, here's another thing. They keep going on and on and on and on about how, quote unquote, great our economy's doing. Except every day in the paper, just about any news source you go on, you hear about another company doing massive number of layoffs.
Yeah.
Okay. Bed Bath & Beyond is getting ready to close another 142 stores across the country. They've already, it wasn't 6 months ago, they closed down another 140 stores across the country.
Disney's firing 7,000 people. We had 62,000 people laid off in January alone.
Okay, you got that going on. You got all the tech giants are laying off people left and right. You've got the oil industry is tanking, even though he's said in a State of the Union address. Well, I don't know why oil companies aren't investing in the United States, because we're going to need oil for at least another 10 years. Okay, 10 years doesn't pay off their investment.
All right, this man has absolutely no grounds to speak on anything petroleum related. None whatsoever. From day one, his actions have been not just hostile to the oil industry, they've been outright war against the oil industry. Pulling leases, canceling pipelines, denying new drilling, refusing to give permission to have any refineries built. Every single action that has been taken by this administration has been pushing oil, to the breaking point, and then turn around and scream, "Oh, that last year they made $40 billion. They made $40 billion in profit." Well, listen, I hate to break it to people, but the purpose of being in business is for profit. It's to make profit. Why didn't he say how many billions Pfizer made last year in profit?
Yeah, right.
Why didn't he bring that to the forefront? Why didn't he say anything about that?
Profit doesn't translate in business. Profit doesn't translate necessarily into a business doing well. Okay, everybody makes that assumption that if you are profitable as a business, that you are doing well. No, you're not necessarily. Okay, I've known a lot of profitable businesses that have gone under. So just because you make a record profit doesn't necessarily mean you're doing well. Okay, a lot of that profit gets reinvested back into other portions of their business so that they can remain profitable the next year, so they can maintain a positive cash flow.
Yeah, well, the other point of profit that he never
That's what people don't get. You're huge companies like this, like the oil industry, like big tech, like a lot of these retail companies, that profit is invested forward so that they can maintain their cash flow that they've got to maintain.
But they don't gripe about the companies that they back that are making the profit. They're griping about the companies that they want to
Demonize.
phase out.
Yeah, but even on the campaign, Biden out there saying how they're going to put big oil out of business. That was his promise. Put big oil out of business. They put every roadblock in front of big oil that they possibly could. But the thing that is never translated into a speech when we talk about profit is what the percentage of profit that is being made is coming back to into hands of the shareholders, that they're getting their dividend. That is equated into the profit. So if you got a 401k, you got a retirement plan, you got anything like that, you're one of the American people that owns stock, bonds, or anything else, and you noticed a little bit of a tick, or when everything else around you was dropping and your levels are still somewhat, normal or not dropping as fast, that's your oil companies. That's your oil companies that are putting the dividends in there. So that part of the evil, okay, yeah, fine. Let's strip away the profit from the oil industry. And now everybody goes friggin' broke because nobody gets it. In the words of Maxine Waters, she's gotten, this liberal's got no problem socializing, taking over all of your businesses and having the government run them. All right, what happens when government runs them? What happens to the profit then? Oh, well, nobody's going to see profit then. That's just going to be squandered to send to friggin' Hungary. Well,
You mean like
wherever the hell else is being seen.
Amtrak.
Well, yeah, Amtrak, the GM.
Look at Amtrak.
Yeah,
Okay.
Amtrak.
I mean, Amtrak's a perfect example. Since government took over that, Amtrak's lost money hand over fist.
They've been hemorrhaging money over 30 years.
Yeah, but you don't have to go back that far.
Longer than that.
You don't have to go back that far. Just go back to the Obama administration, 2009, when Obama, too big to fail, went into GM and invested the U.S. public. He actively took shares and control of GM, and that investment was turned into shares. It was sold at a massive loss to the American public. That was government actively getting into the stock market to help out, to help the auto industry. And he failed. And the government lost our money. Tons of billions of dollars we lost on that deal. Every single share was sold at a loss. We don't have to go back and look at the history. We can look at the most recent news. They failed because they don't know what they're doing.
Well, look
at what
Obama's practices on the auto industry even did with cash for clunkers and all the rest of the programs. You know what that did to the mean price of used vehicles and auto parts in this country?
We lost
when you
money.
had people, when you had people having cars getting turned in, getting $3,000 for them and stuff like that. And the cars were not able to be resold. You had to scrap the cars. You couldn't sell the parts off them. You couldn't do anything. It destroyed the used car market. It destroyed the parts market. And what about all those people that couldn't afford to go out and buy a new $40,000, $50,000 car at the time? All of their all their entire stock, anything they would have had to choose from, disappeared.
So you guys have to keep
$75 an hour auto industry people.
You guys have to keep looking at their big picture, though. You will own nothing, and you will be happy about that.
Well,
one world order,
that's
baby.
exactly
That's
true, and that's actually
going.
Came out again more recently.
I'm looking for, because I believe there's a couple of studies, but we lost about $24,000 per vehicle with cash for clunkers. 24,000.
Yeah, well, if you've been to the car dealership lately and see the prices on what the hell they're selling right now, it's insane. It's absolutely insane what they're getting for the price of vehicles. And I get everybody, I get 100 different answers from people. Oh, well, the cars last longer today. The cars are safer today. The cars are this, the cars are that. In the year 2000, the average price of a pickup truck in the United States, a nicely equipped loaded pickup truck, was about $35,000. The average median income for the people in that market was around $37,000 a year. Now look at the median income of what it is now. It's not all that much higher. It's like $42,000 a year is the median income. And what's the base price for the same truck now? Same design truck, $70,000. So when you look at it and look at what the percentage of how much the costs have gone up for vehicles versus how much our paychecks have gone up, they're completely disproportionate to one another. And they say, "Oh, there's no inflation." There's bullshit. I don't know what Lori paid for her car 3 years ago, brand new car, but I know that it's like 20% higher now, and that's not including the tack-ons at the dealer. I stopped by the Jeep dealer. There was a Jeep Rubicon, $75,000. A Jeep Rubicon, $75,000. Add on the dealer, dealer premium, $125,000 for a Jeep Rubicon.
I want to go backwards just a second, okay? Because we're talking about Biden taking down the oil industry, and I want to go back in history just a little bit, and another industry that was taken down by government because they were too powerful. And that is tobacco industry. Because if you look at right about the same time, the Surgeon General issued or started mandating that tobacco companies start labeling cigarettes. That was when the tobacco industry was in its heyday. Okay. They were basically sponsoring everything because they had the money to do so. And government saw them. They had some of the hugest lobbies in Congress, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not saying that it's good for industries to have huge lobbyists in Congress and so forth. But big tobacco at the time was the quote unquote powerhouse of the time, of the era. Okay. They're doing the same thing to oil right now. That's what a lot of this is, except oil is more globally more global powerhouse than it is just a national deal. And that's one of the reasons why they're going after it so hard with climate change and all this other stuff. They want to destroy the power that big oil has. Okay. The next thing they're going to be going after, and they already are starting on it, is big tech. Okay. Because they see it as subverting government power, government authority. They hold power over the people. They realize that big tech, if it chooses to, can totally change the face of government. So they've got to destroy it.
I can't wait for not that I like the idea, but I could, if I had the crystal ball that I could look into and say I can't wait for the oil industry to get taken over by the battery industry, and then the battery industry winds up becoming the threat that government has to now eviscerate. After
it's coming.
It eventually, whoever becomes the big player
Whenever
becomes the target. And as I said, the
exactly.
last one to feed the alligator winds up finding himself on the menu.
Yeah.
Okay, exactly. It doesn't matter. Okay. In the 1800s was railroad. Okay, with the rail barons. Now, okay, in the 60s to 70s, it was the tobacco industry. Okay, starting in the 80s, it started becoming the
Housing.
oil industry. They're big pharma right now. Okay, and that's the whole deal behind Inflation Reduction Act. The medical provisions in it is going after big pharma. Okay, in the 80s, they also went after farms. Okay, in the farming industry, they destroyed a lot of that. Okay, any industry where government sees it as a threat to the way government operates, they go after it. Okay, they saw farming as a threat to big government because people could provide for themselves. And if they took government out of the equation, they could do it far more efficiently. So government had to get its hands into it even more.
Well, I found the whole thing, everything that Biden had to say was so insulting. Think about it. Joe Biden was trying to appease the American people and distract us from inflation, from higher interest rates on our car loans, our credit cards, everything. He was trying to distract people from the layoffs that were going on all around us. And he was talking about airline fees. Think about it. Everyone, we've been talking about this for the last year, that people are paying 25, 35, 45% more on their food bills. And they're spending more and more. We have eggs that are scarce. It's a 380% increase. There's lettuce. You can't find it. There's a lot of foods that are scarce right now. People are trying to figure out, electricity is up, depending on which source you're looking at, somewhere between 65 and 45% across this country. People are trying to pay their bills and get fed. And he's talking about reducing airline fees as an example of him saying, I did something. Look, I'm doing great. It's always I'm doing something. I'm helping you with airline fees. You're not taking a vacation right now. You're not flying anywhere. The American people aren't like, oh, I've got extra money. Let me fly over to Hawaii. You're not doing that right now. People are trying to feed themselves and pay their bills. And he's talking about airlines, which is a luxury. It's so insulting that he was trying. And I understand the State of the Union is supposed to be an uplifting image, but it's also supposed to be about reality. It's supposed to be about the basis of the common people, that this is the impact of the average American. And when you're talking about the luxury of airlines and vacations versus I need to buy food tomorrow and I can't afford it, I can't afford to keep the lights on, that's a massive disconnect, and it's dishonest, at least in my opinion.
Well, here's another thing that our illustrious president claimed in his State of the Union address is wages. The growth of wages is outpacing the rate of inflation.
No. There's not
I
a single
can't
data.
conclude that statement without laughing at it.
I don't need you have to have some kind of magic up your butt, unicorn sprinkles and rainbows to come up with that number, because that's just not real anywhere. It's crazy.
Okay, and I'm looking here, report after report after report that's saying, okay, where Biden says wages are rising faster than inflation, but every report I see is wages are growing slower than inflation. Every report I see. Okay, and it doesn't matter what source it's coming from.
Because it's a lie. Peter's right. I'm right. It's a lie. Anyone who gets a paycheck knows that's a lie. That's why I hated this State of the Union. No wonder it was 29%. The most popular candidate in 2020, most votes ever, He lost 29% of all the viewers, even within his own party, the second lowest viewed State of the Union in 37 years. Tells you something. The public knows he's a liar. But he's going to run in 2024. This was supposed to kick off his 2024 campaign because he's doing a great job if you read nothing but headlines on Twitter.
Oh, I heard a rumor that, well, it's an article, but still it's a rumor to me, that it's not going to be him running. It's going to be Harris with Clinton as her VP.
Harris and Buttigieg. Because Pete Buttigieg is gay and Harris is, I believe, a woman of color. And that covers all the check boxes. So it will be groundbreaking, breaking through the glass ceiling. It's brave and bold, and you cannot question or attack that. Otherwise, you're a racist, sexist, istphobe, and obviously then you're an evil MAGA Nazi. That's what they're going to go with. Harris and Buttigieg.
And actually, I agree with Peter. I don't think Biden is going to make it to 2024. There's a reason why all this stuff on classified documents was brought to light. Okay. And mind you, they're still going hard on Trump on those. This is a means to set Biden up to be removed from office. Okay, I see Biden get removed from office probably this coming year.
But where did it go? The story about all the documents is
classified document.
Yeah, it's done. Get done with it.
Well, we have a balloon to worry about.
Well, no, because now they went and they pushed it off. Now they said, oh, by the way, we also got him over at Pence's house. They're trying to make it to the point where it's becoming so damn common to find these documents that it doesn't mean anything. They're tempering everybody to it. They're trying
to, okay, but they're going. It's going to come up again. Okay, and here's the reason why.
Didn't they assign
a documents that Biden had?
Didn't they assign a special counsel to
one at a time, folks?
Didn't they assign a special counsel to both the Trump and the Biden documents?
Yes.
Yes.
So that's where it's at right now. That's why you're not hearing anything.
But here's the thing. A lot of the documents that were found at Biden's, besides the fact that they were so insecure, were documents that should have never left the facility where they were originally viewed.
Well, he had no legal authority to have them, being vice president. He doesn't have the ability to remove the documents. He doesn't have the ability to declassify them on his own. He doesn't have the legal authority to do that. Trump is the only person who had documents that had the legal authority to have them. Now, whatever Pence has, I don't even know what Pence has. Whether or not those documents.
They found one document.
All right, and we don't know what the context of that document was. Who knows? Maybe Trump declassified it for him, and then would have given him permission to have it, or whatever it is.
But regardless, okay, they've got to set the stage to get Biden out of office, and Biden's not going to leave voluntarily because Biden's too much of a power monger.
All they got to do is they have an easier way to do it, though. The laptop. The laptop is the easiest way to get him out of office. Unless they can
prove that Biden directly had influence on it. The President Joe Biden was actually involved on that, and they have to prove that.
The laptop will only be used to be able to implicate Hunter Biden in something unless there's something on there that's directly stipulates by Biden himself
They've got to get
that
something
he authorized any
directly
of the
on
illegal
Biden, on
transactions.
Joe.
But
Okay.
they can. But they can because they also have eyewitnesses. The partners that worked with Biden have already come out, at least one of them, and has already said that Joe Biden was in present and part of negotiations with some of the foreign Chinese companies, which can be, and that's where the investigation now ties in Biden, which then goes to peddling of influence
Yeah,
and
but
potential corruption.
eyewitness statements aren't going to mean anything because, as far as anybody's concerned, these are Hunter Biden's business partners. If you want to impugn the integrity of a witness that's testifying against the defense, against on behalf of the prosecution against the defense, all you have to do is remind people that these were business partners and what kind of deal did they make.
Okay, what about his quid pro quo? They could get him on that.
Well, he's going to be able to turn around and say that he did that under the direction of the president of the United States, as within the commission of his job as the liaison between the White House and that.
But you know what they can get him on? The documents that they found in his home from when he was in the Senate from 1970s to about 2000, those are absolutely, without question, you can make the argument from when he was vice president, but the Senate, when he was in the Senate.
All right.
that's
Now
really-
we have, all right, but then turn around and look at then you have to look at what do you call it, on the statute of limitations. Is the statute of limitations going to apply for classified documents
no
that are over
statute of
20
limitations.
years
there isn't
old?
one. Yeah.
All right,
I'm
we
not
have to
aware of
verify
one.
that before we find out if I don't put anything past the guys. Look, the guy is too comfortable. They're all too comfortable knowing everything that this guy has been doing. The guy has got pictures of his son on a computer with a child in a bikini on the same friggin' laptop that discusses all these illegal activities. They don't bat an eyelash. This is Teflon. This is Clinton 2.0. This is John Gotti 2.0. They're not worried about any of this sticking to them. And you got to wonder why.
Well, here's the thing. They've got to remove Biden from office because Biden doesn't really have good of a chance in 2024. There's too many Democrats that turned against him.
Well, the only thing I could think right now is the only reason that they're not trying to push Biden out is because they're still trying to find the albatross to hang around Harris's neck, because they know that if they push Biden out and she comes up to the top position, she would lose against a ham sandwich in an election. Okay, there is no way. There is absolutely no way possible. We can bring up the Eisenhower's corpse, and he would win an election over her. So they have to get rid of her to get rid of him, and maybe that's the only reason they're not.
No, they don't.
Moving on him yet.
No, they don't. No, they don't. Removing Biden from office. Okay, if Biden chooses to run in 2024, he's a shoo-in. Okay, if they remove Biden from office and Harris is put in as president, they can run a completely clean slate.
Oh, they can,
in the
but
2024 election.
They can, but think about the timing. If she was able to get into the White House, say with a year to go, okay, say a year to go, and she's in there, that's just enough time. That's just enough time for some sort of false flag to take place that puts her in a catbird seat where they can project her as leader and then use you don't change horses midstream. You don't do this. You don't do that. You're not giving her a fair chance. And like they said, they will wind up painting her as Joan of Arc without the fire. And then they wouldn't pull her off the ticket because they don't have, who do they have as backup? Hillary? Jeffries? They don't have nobody in the wings right now.
Michelle?
Listen, I don't.
Michelle Obama.
I don't care how many. I don't care how many covers of how many magazines that they put her on or how many fashion this or how many fashion that. When I walk into Walmart and I see her book charged, down to 99 cents in the bargain bin, I'm kind of thinking to myself, the woman does not carry the kind of clout that her husband has, or the charisma. And and I don't think that shit is sexually transmitted. So
Yeah,
I don't, unless she's bringing the Mac Daddy in with her to do all the campaigning and do that whole, you're getting two presidents for the price of one routine like they pulled with Clinton. I don't think the American people are ever gonna. Sorry,
I think that you guys are underestimating whether it's Buttigieg Harris or Harris and Michelle. You get the same result, which is that they are talking about race and sexual preference. That's what the next election is going to be based on. It is a push of the progressive ideology, because at this point, even though they're getting pushback on the whole wokeness thing, it is still, people are terrified to be labeled as sexist or racist or homophobic or transphobic. And with that combination, either of those two combinations, you have race, sex, and or sexuality. And that is an almost impenetrable, and this is why I think it's Buttigieg, because it's almost impenetrable barrier to any critique. The answer, every critique at that point becomes simply, but you're a sexist, racist, you must be MAGA, you must be a Nazi. That's why you don't want to vote for them. You're an evil person. And they're going to push that forever.
Yeah, but that I don't know if if the country is going to be able to tolerate another 2 more years of that bullshit, and then have it pushed in our face that all of a sudden we're going to have drag show or storytelling at the White House.
Yes, we're gonna get there. I don't
think the American people are going to tolerate that.
I think we're going to get there.
I don't know. Half of them already do. So
yeah, it's not because people want it. They're afraid to be called out against it. They're terrified of that. Look at what's happening with the whole Hogwarts thing.
Yeah, but there's more and more people. The more and more people that I think they turn the water up on the frog too far too fast, and I think enough people are starting to fight back where they might be starting to see that horse just ain't going to win that race. Now putting Buttigieg in there, Buttigieg, whatever this guy's name is, the guy's had the job for 25 months. He's been there for 3. And he's failed at every turn that he's had,
Yeah.
And all you got to do is just put a picture of him and his husband carrying, holding their newborn child. Why were they in a hospital bed in that photograph? Which one of them gave birth? That they were in a hospital bed. Was that really a necessary part of it? I mean, listen, if they're going to run a campaign based on not being able to identify what a woman is, and that a man can give birth, and that you need urinals in the women's room, and you need tampon dispensers in the men's room, and that it's okay to have your 6 or 7-year-old girl go to gymnastics at the Y and then have to go to the bathroom and shower with some 55-year-old guy who walked in with a wig. I don't think that this is going to fly. I think you're going to have enough pushback. And listen, for them to really explore this, if they're going to get rid of Biden, and they really take a deep dive into that laptop, they're also going to have to take a deep dive into what happened to the kids on that laptop. And they're going to have to take a deep dive into what happened in Epstein Island, because all of this shit is all tied together. And I think in 2 years, if we have enough of that being hammered in, the country is going to be so disgusted that the crap that Alex sent us today in the messages that was sent in on our messages before, I'm sure you guys saw it, and the shit that Michael's posting on the thing right now. I don't.
Oh, this is in my case.
No, well, who's posting that?
Not me.
Who's doing the split screen?
I am. This is in my.
Yeah, I just said
this is
no. You just posted it onto the screen here. But I'm thinking that America, if they're going to continue to paint the the right wing as MAGA terrorists and everything else. The left is going to have to make a pivot point real quick, and they're going to have to make it real soon. They're either going to have to go full, absolute, off the friggin' wall to the left, digging up Stalin, putting him behind a podium with some puppet strings and getting him to talk, or going completely, like what that flyer said, or they're going to have to do the other thing. They're going to have to try and figure out how to paint themselves back as the traditional Democrat Party, because they're going to say that Republicans have gone so far to the right that they're all Nazis, they're all this, they're all this, or all that, that the Democrats are truly the party of family, the party of unity, the party of American values. They're going to have to JFK themselves up the wahoo in order to try and convince people that they're normal again. But they've gone too far over to the side that it's not going to happen.
Well, they're redefining what is normal.
Right.
That's the thing.
But their definition is getting more pushback than what I think they anticipated. And I think once they get into that laptop and they start getting into some of the other crap that is out there, I think when people see the depths of depravity that have taken place, that no one has been accounted for, no one has been punished for, and we have children, we can't account for their whereabouts or their well-being. I think the people are going to get so sick to their stomach, they're going to yearn again for that shiny city on a hill.
But a lot of that stuff has been being pushed out over the last 8 years, 9 years.
Yeah.
People don't want to open their eyes to it. They don't believe it.
All right, listen. Right now, they're finding bodies in the street. That's what it is. They're showing you the body. They're not showing you the suspect. They have conjecture. They have an idea. They have this and they have that. When you see somebody walking out with cuffs on, and you could finally start pinning stuff on people, and the people's names are bigger than what people expect, that's when I think you're going to start noticing it, because they don't listen. The media doesn't like to run on speculation unless it's against a conservative. Then they can figure out how to speculate all they want. They will never. I said back then that when Obama was president, he could have lit fire to an American flag, took a dump on it while performing an abortion on the White House lawn, and the media would have ignored it. Well, figured out how to give him some sort of a medal for it. But I think we're moving into a situation now that once people start seeing it, and they can't hide it any longer, and thank God for guys like Elon Musk that have taken some of the blinders off Twitter, because that's still catching up with people. People still like, oh, wait, they were banning people? I didn't know that. You still have people that have no friggin' clue. Yeah. Sometimes that cycle, if the media is not going to cover it, the people have to cover it. And it's going to take a little while longer for it to get around by word of mouth than if it did by media. Because what's the old saying? A lie gets all the way around the world before the truth has a chance to put its pants on.
Yeah. But that's the point I think Jan and I are making, is that the extremism that is going on right now, and just for the censors to make sure we're clear about this, we're not talking about anyone's preferences. I don't care what adults do. I don't care. We're talking about children. We're talking about the politically using people to advance an agenda, which is what we're seeing. This is what this is. They are normalizing an agenda, an ideology, not people's lives. And that turnaround, I think when we see shows like Velma, when we see shows like Witcher Origins that have completely failed, when we have seen the abject failure of movie after movie where all these agendas are being put forth, yes, I think we are at the peak, but that downturn can take as long as it took to get up this hill, which puts us well into 2030, which means 2024, they can use this as a tool for an election. And again, it's like what they did with Obama, both in his first and second year. Oh, we broke the black ceiling, the glass ceiling. They're going to have women are going to break the glass ceiling, and people will vote for this for fear of being outed as someone who didn't, and therefore you are evil. That's what the whole Reichstag speech by Biden in Philadelphia was all about. You have to agree, or you are going to be identified as evil and ostracized. And we have not gotten to the point where the majority of Americans will step up and say, no, that's wrong. That's evil. You're destroying my ability to have life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You're taking away my freedom of choice. This is a dictatorship. That's that dictatorial kind of language, and I do not accept that. We have not reached that critical mass.
Well,
Well,
I think the Milli Vanilli moment is coming.
they've had the moment. They could have done this since they've had all the Epstein stuff.
Yeah.
They could have
That's the
arrested
thing,
a
okay?
number of big names. They won't do it. They don't want you to
They're
know
worried
the
about
big
political
names
fallout
behind
on
it.
that.
Yeah.
They're worried about the political fallout on that, okay, because of the big names that are involved. Okay, that's one of the reasons why Epstein got quiet.
And they told
I want to
and
go back
guaranteed they
to
told
why I think
Ghislaine.
they're going to be removing Biden out of office for just a second. Okay, because like I said, they're setting him up with these classified documents and a few other things. But another telling sign is how the media is actually starting to turn against Biden. Okay. Perfect case in point. In his State of the Union address, CNN was calling him out on his lies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. CNN normally doesn't do that. Okay. CNN has there's been quite a few things here as of late where CNN, MSNBC, and a lot of the liberal media have been going and taking shots at Biden. They haven't said anything about Harris. It's been directly pointed at Biden.
I think a lot of that has to do with the fact, though, that they knew he was only going to be a one-term president. He'd go in, do what they wanted him to do. So at this point in time,
it
we're
doesn't
2
matter
years
if they thought he
away,
was
which is
one-term
basically
president
the
or not.
time.
They are setting the stage to remove him from office, not by election, but forcibly removed.
Well,
okay? They are setting the framework.
Yeah, but I've been saying since 2020, I've been saying he's not going to make it through. I'm surprised, and you've heard me say it on this program, said it many times. I didn't expect him to be here through January of this year. Yeah, he's going.
I did.
They've
I
been setting him up. Yeah, but I didn't expect him to
make it past the midterm. Okay,
and
the reason why is if he makes it past the midterms, whoever replaces him, i.e. Harris, is eligible to run for 2 terms.
Right.
If they replaced him prior to the midterms, Harris would have been limited to a single term.
Right. And that's why I say it's going to be Harris and Buttigieg. Because again, the reason why they're turning on him, I believe, is because it is so egregious, the lies, the misrepresentation, the disparity between the average American and what he's saying. He spent all of 2022, him and the press secretary were out on a regular basis trying to tell people, no, you just don't understand how good the economy is, while people are looking at inflation go up, up, up. They're looking at their bills go up, up, up. And they've been trying to say, but no, it's really great. He said it in the State of the Union. Look, we have the lowest unemployment rate in 37 years, 3.4%. The economy isn't unemployment. It just isn't. And that's not what you're paying in your bills. And everyone knows it. It is so blatant, the disconnect and the cope that he's putting out there. But this also affects, and this does affect Harris. The reason why you're not seeing a lot about Harris is because she's doing nothing. Because every time she has done something, she has been a miserable failure. She went to South Korea, that went worse. She went to Ukraine, that went tits up. She's supposed to be taking care of the southern border. That's a complete fiasco. There is nothing that Kamala Harris has done that has actually been, hell, I can't even say that she barely crossed the line of doing nothing. She has been negative in the results of everything she's touched. But she's got gender and she's got color on her side. And that's what's scary about this as we go forward. And the fact that when you combine that with the fact that Biden, they're not talking about his scandals like they should, like they have with everyone else. They're not talking about his scandals. They're not calling out his lies. They're starting to pick at some of the things, but he has completely failed. And I think they're using that as a vacuum to let that vacuum is going to bring in this sea change they want to have before we get to 2024. It's going to be cemented by the time we get there. And I don't think it's going to be Newsom. Governor Newsom is not even a real talking point, but people have mentioned it.
Well, we have seen good old Andy Cuomo running around with Kellyanne Conway.
Yeah. I don't know. It's the sad thing is the State of the Union was a setup to get us to 2024. That's what they really wanted. They wanted to try and sell the message that Democrats have been very successful, that you should be thinking of them positively, that anyone who isn't following in line with the approved message is evil and wrong, and they're trying to harm the American people, which is why he lied about Social Security and Medicaid. It's why he lied about all the data and danced around all the important issues affecting us. It's the reason why everyone's been talking in the news media, slammed onto the balloon instead of talking about everything else that's happening. They were so happy to see that people were talking about a balloon as if that was and given. Yes, it could have had an EMP. Yes, it could have had a bioweapon. Yes, it was spying on America. And they didn't shoot it down until it completed its mission, which is insulting and stupid to me. I can't imagine why. And now they're talking about a balloon in Alaska. It is a distraction.
Well, that was probably one of our own balloons.
Huh?
That was probably one of our own balloons.
Wouldn't surprise me. Well, the first one was Chinese because China spoke about it. It's a non-issue. Nobody in the world cares about it. They're trying to make it like, oh, we're about to go into World War III because a balloon was over America. Are you kidding me? No. No one in the world. China could care less that we shot it down. No one cares. What we should be concerned about in the balloon, if we have to talk about it, is why did you shoot it down after it crossed America? If there's any conversation about the balloon, is why did we wait?
Well, yeah, that's the only conversation that should be had on that. Also, the supposed claims that supposedly 3 balloons were over the United States during the Trump administration that were never detected by the Trump administration and were suddenly miraculously detected by the Biden administration.
They never existed. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, it doesn't matter if anyone noticed it. The public would have looked up in the air and go, what's that? And we would have heard about it. There's not even a YouTube video out on it.
Look, the whole story about balloons overhead while Trump was president is false from the get-go because it doesn't ever paint well for anybody in it. Because for them to have had the balloons over there but not notify the president, treason.
Yes.
Okay. You're not allowing the commander. You're not giving the commander in chief a threat analysis for something that may be overhead. Giving him the opportunity to make a decision on it. Okay. So that would be everybody who was involved in not telling him would be disgraced. If they told him and he didn't do anything about it, then why didn't they raise the flag? If the media knew about it and didn't say anything about it, well, every time the guy had a friggin' hiccup, you try to run him up for impeachment to come up with another reason to get him out of office. So you mean to tell me 3 balloons would have flown over? And nobody from the military would have told the media, and the media wouldn't want absolutely batshit ape crazy over it. Of course, nothing flew over during his administration. There's not only is there no proof and no evidence, it doesn't make sense given how much the man was hated among the Washington, D.C. and press.
Everything about the quote unquote 3 balloons flying over when Biden was in office makes absolutely zero sense, because I mean, just here, okay, how do you detect something that is no longer there? Okay, and supposedly the Biden administration is the one that detected these quote unquote 3 balloons that flew over during the Trump administration.
It's so bald-faced spin, political spin and lie, and it's not been confirmed. They can't even find anyone to confirm this. It's an anonymous source yet again, with this complete
and everybody
fabrication.
that they talked to, including people that were not Trump fans, that were in high positions that would have known about it, have all said, "What in the hell are you talking about?" Everybody that they talked to, that were in high positions, that were in high positions, that would have known about it.
No, sorry, I'm on a.
That's not me.
No, sorry, I'm on a feedback loop on my computer.
Oh, okay.
I was trying to get some audio to commemorate the moment.
No, I'm with you, but it's crazy, and you know, even Dow mentioned in the comment, all of the Adam Schiff, Eric Swalwell, Maxine Waters, Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, they would have never missed the opportunity to say how bad Trump was in dealing with the economy, dealing with the national security. Oh my God, he's talking about we're going to save America and protect America. You can't protect us from a balloon. They would have been on NBC, MSNBC, CNN, Rachel Maddow, 24 hours a day, streaming every second of that balloon as it floated across every inch of America. There'd be a camera all day on it.
Balloon gate.
It's not real. But again, that's still the distraction from, so why did we let this balloon go from Montana across the country to the Atlantic Ocean? Why did we let it go there before we decided? And I love their answer. Well, we had to protect people. There's no people in Montana or North Dakota. There's no people over there. You could have shot it down over 2/3 of the nation, and you'd be lucky if you could hit a caribou or a deer. There's nothing it would have hit. They had no reason not to shoot it down before it got to the Atlantic Ocean, especially if they had any belief that it was more than a spy plane. That makes it even more important to shoot down where it was over nothing but land,
a non-populated area,
and they had plenty of them. Could have done it anytime.
Well, they did. And the thing is the amount of information that balloon was able to actually collect
and transmit.
Extremely telling.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it hovered over the missile bases in Montana for what, 2 days?
Mm-hmm.
At least.
Yeah.
Okay. And you know that they're never going to tell us what kind of
what did it look at prior to Montana, and what did it look at after Montana?
Well, I mean, if we really want to go there with it, Mike, if we want to really go there with it, then why didn't Alaska notify us about it? Why didn't Canada notify us about it? Because it had to go over Canada to get to us. So are you saying that Joe Biden, yet again, another thing that makes this so bizarre, it had to go past our early warning systems in Alaska. It
Yeah,
had it
due
entered, it approached and entered Canadian airspace to be able to get to Montana to enter the United States, because people who don't know geography, because they don't teach it anymore, Montana is not on the coast of America. It's not on the West Coast. So it had to go over Canada.
No, it's not.
Right. So it has to go over Canada into their space. So Canada didn't shoot it down. Why not? Why didn't the Canadians tell American military about it? I have to imagine they did. And again, we did. So we have to understand they knew it was there, because Canada would have known it was there. Alaska's early warning system would have known it was there. They knew it was there and they didn't care. And that's the discussion. Again, why didn't we shoot it down? Why didn't we do anything or warn people or take any measures before it even got there? Because we knew, we had to know. And if we didn't know, then the United States is not secure. The only other answer is, well, America is not secure because Alaska couldn't figure it out. We didn't have any early warning systems, and Canada didn't help us, which means also the North American Treaty is absolutely useless because Canada isn't protecting our North. We are screwed if no one else figured it out before it got over Montana and a bunch of citizens said, what is that? So the scenario is bad, worse, or terrible. No matter how you spin this story. And the sad thing is the news media isn't saying this to the American people, and the American people aren't saying, how dare you? This should be, if we're going to talk about the balloon, which really isn't a big issue in that it's a spy balloon. Who cares? It's the other factors about this story that are the issue. But yet we're only talking about, well, it's a balloon and they were spying on. I could care less if China was spying on us with the balloon, quite honestly. I'm concerned about why we didn't shoot it down and what was going on with Canada and Alaska and our early warning systems and our treaties with these nations, with Canada. That's far more concerning to me than whether the balloon made it across America and took pictures.
It went across the dew line on the west of Alaska, but honestly, the path that goes across Alaska there really is nothing there. There's not even people there. So it's possible that it wasn't seen
radar
in that area.
Radar.
It's highly possible that it wasn't seen in Canada along that area. Okay, I mean those areas are very, very desolate. But it should have been seen in around Idaho and Oregon.
Well, Jason just brought up a great point. We just shot down another balloon over Alaska today, like I was mentioning. We were talking about just a second ago. It's the
they
same
don't know
thing.
that it's a balloon. They're saying it's an object.
They're going to say a lot of things. Until I see the video of it, I believe it's a balloon.
I'm still curious as to what that second item over Montana was that exploded in the sky and came down to earth in a flaming, smoking ball that nobody has been able to tell us what it was yet.
There was something else in Montana?
The day that the balloon was spotted, originally at the advent of the story about the Chinese spy balloon, there was a report of a second item in the Montana sky, and there's footage on YouTube that people took. Something exploded and descended. And I made mention of it the last time we were here. I said it kind of looked the way it looked when the space shuttle disintegrated coming back into orbit.
Because I know there was another balloon.
There was a big flash. There was on the video. There's a big flash, and then you see it coming down.
Yeah.
Okay, because I know there was another balloon, Chinese balloon in South America, Latin America.
Matt,
So
this
there was
is up
one to
there,
our south.
and even the governor of Montana even came out and addressed that thing that was in the sky that day. He addressed it. He says there's reports of something coming down. We're going to come back as soon as we know more information. Nothing. We've heard
I missed
absolutely nothing about it.
Okay, so I missed that one. It's crazy. But you notice how in our conversation, just the four of us, we have brought up more points of question and more things that need to be investigated for the safety and protection of America and just the peace of mind of the American people. And we've worked through all of the excuses that have been presented already. Why isn't CNBC, CNN, CBS, New York Times, why aren't they doing their damn jobs? If we can do it, they've got 10,000 people at each and every one of these businesses getting millions of dollars combined, if not some of their anchors individually. And we're doing their job for them. Why the hell can't they do this?
Ideological.
It's terrifying. Oh, it terrifies me. It terrifies me. And it makes me think that they set this up so that it would be the distraction from the State of the Union. They did this, they let this happen so the State of the Union, no one would ask the serious questions. So that everyone would be talking about something else rather than talking about the economy or talking about the classified documents or the weapons that we're giving over to the Ukraine, which is a scenario that I believe is another Vietnam, that we're going to have troops on the ground and it's going to pull us in like another Vietnam. And I think they want to distract from all of those things so that we could have the balloon and then a clear slate for the State of the Union and keep everyone completely distracted because they know they are screwed. That's what I think about it.
Yeah, Peter sent me from Atlas News. He put it up in the text in the chat box over here. He's got the link for what happened in the Montana sky. I'm reading it off screen while you guys are reading that.
Okay.
Trying to figure out what the hell it was.
Yeah, there's so many, but there's so many questions about this. It doesn't make sense that we have. It's a question of national security. It's a question of media corruption. It's a question of transparency and integrity. If I'm correct, and I'm guessing, but if I'm correct that this was done or allowed to happen as a distraction because of politics, well, that's like they say, the classic misinformation, disinformation. It is manipulation of the public. This is so bad.
I think the biggest thing that concerned me about it was hearing that it flew and hovered over several military institutions.
Yeah, I mean, that's bad too. But quite honestly, if they could put a balloon over those installations, they've got a satellite that's already seen it. They've got a jet that's already seen it. It's not like those were super secret. No one knew they were there. And they have satellites and they have jets, just like we have the SR-71 Blackbird flying over China and Russia on a regular basis. They've got the same thing. So the balloon didn't give them, I doubt, the balloon would give them any new information.
They're saying a lot of tech that was on the balloon, listening to ground communications. And they said that some of it could actually hear people talking, not even using a phone or anything, and actually pinpoint their location.
Okay.
Oh, by the way, in reading that article that Peter posted, According to the article, it's swamp gas. It's swamp gas. The same excuse that has been used for every single every single
UFO sighting
report of a sighting in the history of America, and they're saying, oh, it was probably most likely the flash was because somebody moved the camera around, and the contrast of the sky and the light made the lens flicker. The boom was of a plane passing by somewhere else, and the stream of smoke that you see in the sky in a corkscrew configuration was most likely a contrail from a plane. So I don't know if contrails go.
If you guys haven't seen the video, you got to pull the video up now.
I don't know if contrails go 85 degrees to Earth, in like almost a straight line. And they say, oh, we've got no reports of we've got no reports of debris anywhere. We're not, so basically nobody knows what the hell that was, and they're trying to say that this is a contrail. This photo right there.
Yeah, that you know what? I've seen lots of clouds, and you can tell me swamp gas isn't thousands of feet, hundreds or thousands of feet in the air.
They didn't say it was swamp gas. Swamp gas is the common term used by
catch-all term.
Yeah, it's the catch-all term used by UFO aficionados, that every single thing that's ever been seen, you see an alien, come down, beam into your bedroom and kidnap your family, swamp gas. You see lights in the sky, swamp gas. Everything is always swamp gas. And even in the Men in Black movies, they use swamp gas,
Yeah.
But you look at the video, you look at those photographs, and you're going to tell me that that's a contrail? No, I'm sorry. You can show me a lot of shit, but listen, don't pee on me and tell me it's raining. Yeah, that's and it was such a quick thing. We're gonna find out what it was. It reminded me exactly of the way the news broke in Roswell. We're not going to get into UFO stuff over here. We're not going to get into UFO stuff, but I love how the media said the first response of the media was flying saucer crash lands outside Roswell. Then it comes back and it says that a debris pile was found on the ranch out there and everything else. And then the military came out and said, we can confirm it was a flying saucer. And then before you know it, there's Major Jesse Marcel in his famous photo holding up a strip of aluminum foil while he's kneeling down over a pile of pixie sticks. And they said, oh, it was swamp gas. It was this, it was that. The same way they did this, the governor ran to a camera. Yes, we're aware of the balloon. We're aware of another explosion. We're aware that something came down. We're sending a team out there to investigate this crash, and there's got to be something. Oh, no, it's nothing. It's nothing. No. Forget everything we just said. Forget everything you saw.
Here.
Nothing. You can't. None of it happened.
It's crazy. It's crazy sometimes the way they assume, probably correctly, and think about it. Most Americans forget everything in 2 weeks, if not sooner. I mean, the news cycle is 3 days.
Mm-hmm.
They're absolutely confident that everyone's going to. I mean, it's Friday. People are forgetting what was said in the State of the Union already. They're already forgetting about it.
Well, it was kind of forgettable.
Well, yes.
They forgot about it a few minutes after it happened.
I just love who's this? What's that guy's name? Jeffries is for this jerk off. This guy's first name. How he was. It was so unprofessional and childlike and everything for the Republicans to boo and harass during the speech. He forgets about the cavalcade of 30 women in white at the last Trump one.
Yeah.
Forgets about old Dancy, ripping up speeches and all the rest of the bullshit that they pulled during the Trump's 4 State of the Union addresses. None of that matters. They weren't unprofessional at that time.
And again, people forget. Oh, look,
But
I see it all.
they're pulling the country together.
Of course, they're unifiers. He's the great unifier. Except for all you evil MAGA people who decided not to vote for him and you aren't listening to the message and obeying. Yeah, everyone else is unified except you evil people.
Yeah,
Which makes
he
up
kept
about
touting
62%.
about his quote unquote bipartisan bills passing, which
Yeah.
most of them the past maybe one Republican. If one
Well, that's
Republican
what
vote for it is bipartisan.
Well, what makes me laugh is that you actually have a tripartisan system right now because you've got a few independents, people who identify as
Yeah, you
independent.
do.
So it's actually tripartisan. So if you had all the Republicans not vote for something and the independents vote along with it, they would then come out and say, well, it was passed with bipartisan approval. Because two parties voted for it. What I always find hysterical is that when a bill gets defeated, they never talk about how the bill was defeated on bipartisan. It'll be bipartisan when one Republican jumps ship. When Mitt Romney does a Mitt Romney or Susan Collins does Susan Collins.
Yeah.
They do what they do. It's one vote and it's bipartisan. But they never talk about all the bipartisan opposition to it. They never say, oh, by the way, it may have passed with one Republican, but when something goes down, it's like, okay, well, half of the Democrats decided against it, but they never talk about how it was defeated on a bipartisan line. Just by party lines, this bill measure was approved by the Senate earlier today.
Yeah. It's again, it's the way they're framing it to people think that there's more acceptance of these ideas and these policies. That's just, and it's old school political tactics. It's not new. It's just so blatant right now. The disconnect from the average American anywhere in this nation, whether they're left, right, center, doesn't matter, independent, doesn't matter. There is a massive disconnect. And it just
Kristen
amazes.
Sinema just changed her party from Democrat to Independent.
Yeah.
Yeah, she did that a month ago. Oh, that was the other big story, was that she was dressed very inappropriately for the State of the Union, wearing a brightly colored yellow dress with floral shoulder appendages. I thought
it was an ugly dress. It was an ugly dress.
I thought she looked lovely.
No,
you know why I think she looked lovely? Because
Why?
Nancy Pelosi hates her. I don't care what Kristen Sinema wears. As long as Nancy Pelosi hates her, I think she looks lovely.
Well, there is that. But
she's going to be a target because she left the Democratic Party.
Well,
she's already a target. They're really. I've seen so much news lately of the guy that's trying to run to take her place.
Well, they're going to try and push that story as hard as they can.
I have to call in a couple of bets from some people because I said at the time when Kristen Sinema actually won her seat out there, I said she's not going to be nearly as reliable a leftist voice as most people are going to think. I said she's rebellious. She's got a streak in her that you don't know about. And she's going to use that streak to put, quite a few holes and quite a few plans of the Democrat agenda. And no way. She's going to say, you watch. I'm telling you.
I think Sinema only ran. I think she only ran Democrat to get elected the first time. Okay,
well,
now that she's been reelected, she doesn't have that concern.
Well, like I said, she may have. Well, but I just love how here's the story with her. Everybody knows that she's bisexual, And
Is?
the left embraced the bisexuality aspect of her, thinking that was going to make her a constant left-wing vote, because God forbid anybody who's gay, bisexual, or anything else ever have a conservative or at least a middle of the road mainstream viewpoint on it. So they thought that she was going to, be a solid vote in it, and they put everything they had behind her
Yeah.
when she ran her election out there. And now it's like, she came out and did that cute little curtsy, vote for that one bill that they were trying to pass, and she was the one vote against it and killed the bill. And that was one, I think, her and Manchin, which
yes, Build Back America, Build Back Better.
Yeah. Well, I put it this way: I have more faith in Kristen Sinema doing the right thing than I do Joe Manchin doing the right thing.
Oh, you're talking to a West Virginian here, baby. You were 100% on that.
Yeah, I have more faith in Kristen Sinema than I do Joe Manchin, and I think under the right set of circumstances, and if pushed the right way, Kristen Sinema can wind up becoming a more reliable vote for at least moderates, if not for the right.
But one thing I'm going to say about Manchin is I'm not sure how he's going to view things over the next 2 years, because they got him to vote for that bill by promising him that they would vote for the coal mines and stuff here. And then when it came to that vote, they voted it down.
Yeah, well, you see, that just goes to show you what kind of a moron Joe Manchin is. Oh, wait, you got to pass a bill, and the only way it'll pass is with my vote. And you're going to promise me the moon, the stars, the sun, and the clouds if I give you my vote. Well, I'll tell you what, why don't you meet me halfway, pull your bill back a little bit, introduce my bill now, get my bill passed. When you show me that my bill gets passed the way I want it to protect the people of my home state, then I'll give you my vote. But no, he's a 3-card Monty idiot. He keeps pointing at the card, thinking that's one. And then when they give him the switcheroo, he doesn't learn anything. He's too stupid to learn anything, or either that or he's just waiting for the payoff. Everybody remembers his campaign commercial when he first ran. You remember the copy of Obamacare put on the wooden post at his ranch, and he comes out with his Model 70 bolt action rifle, and puts around there. I'm going to vote against. He came out. He tried to play the typical cowboy right winger to get elected, and the right wing keeps falling for this guy over and over and over again. We're going to put our hopes on Manchin that he'll do the right thing. He don't know how to do the right thing. He doesn't know how to do the right thing. He knows how to do the Joe Manchin thing. And the Joe Manchin thing is whatever's going to grease his palms.
Well,
and that's it.
I got some other news about West Virginia.
Oh?
Yeah. My delegate posts on Facebook all the time about what's going on in session. And today he posted, now we have a Republican Congress here, and it became more Republican this last election. Well, our great Republican House today voted on a nearly $3 million bill to back the new Green Deal in our state.
The Green New Deal? Really?
Yep. It's a company called Form Energy, whose CEO stated their mission statement is to eventually entirely replace coal, oil, and gas with wind and solar. Do you know how pissed West Virginians are right now at our state capital?
I would imagine.
Well, keep sounding the horn and tell them, keep using your pissed off at this to vote the proper way in the next election.
Well,
the only way you're going to save your state is to get rid of that shit.
Yeah, he voted no on it. But, I mean, I don't know.
No.
Yeah,
no,
you guys can't see that. You should see. I mean, like I said, it's mostly green. He's a red, but it's and this is we're a coal country.
Yeah.
And you voted for this crap? Yeah, you didn't hear about this?
No.
Yeah, he posted it today.
You're starting a riot, Jan.
Well,
It's great.
I've gotten to know, like I said, when I first moved here, I got to know my candidates. And he's somebody that this is his second term. And, he's somebody that I go to his events. We even had him here one time to have an event. Unfortunately, nobody showed up. We tried for him, so yeah, I like this guy because he's upfront. He tells you how it is. He tells you what he will vote for, what he won't vote for, and basically, he's a veteran. But he'll sit there. He'll post like an hour and a half live where he talks about what's going on up there. He'll post stuff like this. But yeah, I couldn't believe it this morning when I opened my phone and saw this.
I can't imagine how someone even introduced that in West Virginia.
Exactly. When we're fighting to keep our coal mines open.
I can't find any news story on it.
Well, it might not be because he posted this. Actually, he's in office right after the vote because the post it shows what they just voted.
Okay, so it's still the news cycle hasn't caught up. It just happened.
So the news cycle probably because this was done today.
I'm surprised.
It might be on the West Virginia site, the government site, where you can look up the bill. Although he didn't give a bill number. Yeah, you can probably find it on the House government, West Virginia House government, I think it is. I don't know the name of it. He didn't post the bill number though. But $3 million.
It's insane, some of these things. But again, it's, you know what? It's funny how they slip these things in, because you're mentioning that in West Virginia. And actually, at the very start of the show, just before we got started, I was talking with Mike about something and I found this out yesterday. I did a video on it myself, and I'll show you guys because we were just talking about this. Same thing. This is an idea. It's a bill that was introduced in 2020, 2021, 2022, and now in 2023 in New York. It's a bill A1344, which is in front of the New York State Senate. New York State Assembly. In last year, 2022, the entire New York State Senate, all 63 members voted for this one bill. Which is, 100%. 100% of the New York State Senate said, yeah, this is a great idea. The way I read this bill is it's chilling the First Amendment. It's an attack on freedom of choice. It is a way that the government can silence anyone for actually speaking about an election. The way I read this bill is that if you or anyone went on any electronic media, you went on talk to someone on a cell phone, you were an email, a tweet, social media, a TikTok video, a YouTube video, and you literally told someone, hey, as an example, candidate XYZ believes in abortion up to and at the moment of birth. And that person did not want to vote for Democrats because of that. They said, oh my God, I didn't know this was the record. Factually confirmed, this is their vote. And they decide not to vote or not to respond to the DNC or BLM or Antifa, any organization. You have now committed a misdemeanor in New York State. They can come and arrest you. That's what they're trying to pass right now.
That sounds like the same kind of bill they just recently passed in California.
Yeah, they're trying to pass this through. And the thing is, this is done really quiet. No one was talking about this bill in 2020, 2021. 2022, when it passed the Senate 100%, nobody, including myself, nobody noticed it. This thing's flying all the way under the radar, and it's set to go and win. But the abuse, I see this as an absolute potential for abuse in this bill. The way it's written, they can take out newspapers, independent YouTube or TikTok or social media creators. If you have a post about politics in your Facebook, in your tweets, if you send someone an email, you talk to them, you send a text message, literally any way that you do an electronic conversation with anyone, especially the public, they can turn around and say, you just committed a crime because you stopped someone from being able to vote.
Which means that they're going to be monitoring anything you do on your phone or your computer, which is illegal.
Yeah, I see this thing as being nothing but unconstitutional at every single step.
Is it illegal, or did the Patriot Act somehow make it legal?
No. Based on how they're wording it, and I'm not a lawyer, but based on how I'm reading it, and I think I know what they're going to say is, no, they're trying to protect people, and you can read it that way, but it's open to abuse because it can be read and you can be charged the way I'm describing. And Mike, I know, was saying, well, you could go against the government for this very same thing. You could, but here's the problem. Even if it's wrong, even if it's unconstitutional, what it's meant to do is to chill and terrify people about talking about politics, because the first person that gets arrested on this, they're going to have their name in the newspaper, maybe local, maybe state, maybe national. They're going to be demonized in their community, if not across the nation. And everyone is going to see how this one person's being punished for sharing their voice about politics. And that's all they need.
Well, yeah, they'll be, it'll be the whole, where do I go to get my reputation back again? Because once it gets overturned, everything for that person will go back to normal, including a 7-figure check that'll never be reported on. So yeah, it will have a chilling effect, but unless it's challenged, look, the best way to fight against these things, other than being in court, is mass disobedience. What are you going to do? Come after all of us?
Well, and Peter noted, which I was going to say, and I saw it yesterday, they arrested that reporter in Ohio because he was reporting on the governor's speech.
No, I missed that. But yet again, same example. It's the same thing. Shut down anyone who's not saying the approved message, and all these little bills and these little things they're trying to slip through so that no one notices, oh, and we did this, by the way, and we did that, by the way. It's scary. It's terrifying me that they're
even
doing
with the Patriot Act, it didn't give them. The Patriot Act doesn't give them the right to look at everybody's phone and everybody's communications.
No, don't get me. We've been against the Patriot Act since its inception. I just threw that out because of because it still amazes me the lack of challenges that have been filed against.
The Patriot Act should have never been passed.
There's so much just happening. And again,
you said you're in West Virginia, Jan?
Yeah.
Okay.
But
I was just trying to do a little research about what you were talking about earlier. And one of the big things going on is there is a Clean Energy States Alliance. And I was checking to see if West Virginia actually is a part of that. Virginia is. West Virginia isn't, or not that I can find.
Well, our AG fights this stuff all the time. So that's why this stunned me today. Because We have, I think, one of the best AGs in the country. This man won't put up with anything that they're trying to pass on everybody. He's always got lawsuits going on.
As far as the reporter getting arrested in Ohio yesterday, it's a he said, she said right now between him and members of the state police and the National Guard who were at the speech. They're saying he was being disruptive, and when asked to be quiet, he stepped up to law enforcement agents in a very threatening manner. They pushed him back, got into an altercation, put him on the ground, and locked him up. He's saying that didn't happen. It wasn't a matter of, so far that I can read into this, it wasn't that he was arrested because he was reporting. Something happened. Something happened, and whether it was taken out of context or if somebody may have either overreacted, underreacted, or whatever it wasn't because the guy was just standing there with a camera taking pictures and saying, oh, this is what the governor is saying. It seems to be the result of an altercation of some sort. Until and unless we have some video cooperation that can determine exactly what happened, we can't really cast judgment on it.
Yeah, isn't it scary how much we are seeing shift across this nation?
Well,
little
how much
quiet
we're seeing 1984, George Orwell's book 1984 play out before our very eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And step by step, oh, here's the approved message. Don't change it. Oh, you don't like that word? We'll change the definition of the word so it fits the political message that we're trying to tell you. Trust the government. Don't worry about it. Everything's okay. Hey, we mandated this. You have to do it no matter what. Oh, is it experimental? Doesn't matter. Do it anyway.
Well, all you got to do is just read the Twitter files when it comes down to what Twitter was holding back against, from the American people, not just based on who they shadow banned, who they blocked, and everything else, just the information that they withheld on behalf of the administration when it pertains to COVID. Just the one thing, just the one subject, just take COVID and look at how much that was. And then look at all the other shit. Yeah. And we're talking about, when the White House sends a message to Twitter executives with a list of people and names of tweets, and at the bottom it says, handle this.
Yes, I saw that.
Did you watch any of the hearings?
Yes.
How they lied in the hearings?
Yes.
I watched more of the hearings than I did of the State of the Union. I'll be honest with you. I flipped by the State of the Union. I watched it in mute because I found it to be more funny. What's happening with the Twitter files, it's shocking. If you really look at it from an objective standpoint, and you see that it was not a matter of the government strong-arming anybody. This was voluntarily colluding with government entities to stifle the free speech of the American people, to withhold information from the American people, withhold data. Twitter is I'm going to say this because I'm going to play the leftist right now. I'm going to play the leftists, when they say, oh, all you Second Amendment advocates are responsible for all these deaths. I'm going to say this the way that they say that to me. Twitter is responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of people around the world.
Yeah. You can make
directly responsible. And the way I look at it, they should be charged as a co-conspirator for not involuntary manslaughter, voluntary manslaughter. At the bare minimum, just for the fact that they were taking doctors who were highly certified in their field and shutting them down, banning their accounts, blocking them from having access to the American people. We're not talking about politicians that you can say, oh, they're trying to make a political point. You're talking about doctors that are immunologists that that have written the book on these things, and they just deferred to the almighty Fauci, and what he said was true.
Well, you heard Brex come out. You heard that Brex, I think that was her name, Brex, the one who stood beside Fauci through all this up there. She came out and recently stated that they knew that these vaccines would not work.
Right. And you know why she's
and
doing
they
that?
lied to the president because they had to push their agenda.
Right. Well, she's already reading the writing on the wall. She's coming out making those public statements now while she's not under oath, because she wants to be able to come in that when they do drag her back in front of Congress, along with Fauci and everybody else, she's going to be able to say, well, I was coerced. I was just doing what Fauci told me. And all the rest, even though she's just as culpable as he is. But the fact that Twitter just decided to say, okay, a government entity in the form of the FBI, NSA, CIA, State Department, Department of Justice, Department of Education, Department of the Interior, the executive branch, all came out and issued directives to Twitter telling them what to take down, what to block, what to ban, and Twitter did it without question.
But you also have to remember they gave them millions in taxpayer money too.
That's
we
right.
want, we want our money back.
Oh, it's not all money.
People back. You can't get the people back. And remember, it was the Nuremberg trials where they said, I'm just following orders isn't an excuse.
Yeah.
Especially when you know what is being done is wrong. And this woman and all these people saying, well, we were just following orders. We were just working with the government. We were just doing what we were told. And you know better. That's not an excuse.
Well, listen, I'm going to use another term that the left
always
seem to use, and that's restorative
the whole thing
justice.
In the Nuremberg trials.
But you can't restore the people.
The whole thing in Nuremberg trials was you couldn't use the excuse you were just following orders.
Yeah.
Well, they also put in the Nuremberg. They also put in the Nuremberg Code that you couldn't force an experimental drug on people.
Yes, that's also part of it. Yes. And we have.
But just like every other enforcement mechanism, it's fine if the people enforcing the mechanism break the mechanism, so long as they can enforce the mechanism on people that they have control over. You know, like when cops do 95 on the highway with their lights off. You know, it's okay for them to do it. God forbid you do. You know.
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter what government does. It matters what the people are going to accept. And the people are accepting it.
Yes.
Not this people.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, like we said the last time, look, this is mostly a lot of information overload. So much shit is happening so fast, coming at us too fast, too heavy, that people can't process all of it. And we can't fight on every single hill. So what we got to do is we got to divide up the troops a little bit and appoint the hill to everybody. You guys fight this battle. You guys fight this battle. You guys fight this battle. And once a week, we all converge back here at the round table, discuss how it went, and we keep moving forward. But until the people decide what the fuck they're going to be angry about, you know, it's not going to work, because as long as they're not, if reading the headline and getting angry about it means that they're going to miss their place in line at Starbucks, they're not going to read the headline.
You know, I wish I could say you were wrong. I wish I could say that, no, people would do that. But I see the reactions to some of my videos when the left gets their hands on it, and I get these bots. All they do is read me the headlines. They read me headline after headline after headline. And I'll show them source after source. I'm like, no, but here's the bill. Did you read it? Did you actually read all the money? Had a guy screaming at me last night, literally for like 8 hours. He's going back and forth with me. He's like, oh, well, you don't understand. It's the bipartisan bipartisan infrastructure deal. Such a great deal, 1.2 trillion. It's helping to save America. I'm like, you do realize that's only spending $350 billion on actual infrastructure. It's not actually, and it costs $7 trillion to replace the electric grid that Biden was talking about. Do you actually know what's in there? Because I read the bill. He's like, well, not every bill is perfect. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Your defense, you're trying to tell me Biden's doing a great job. The State of the Union was fantastic. I'm going to the very bill you told me is an example of why it's so great. I've read the bill. I'm telling you how it is underfunding the very thing you say is fantastic and is going to make America fantastic, massively underfunding, does not work. And your answer is, well, it's not perfect, but I'm still right. That's what we're facing right now.
I got a question for you. Vass.
Yeah.
Your electric bill comes. Who do you pay?
Nice egg.
Mike, who do you pay when your electric bill comes?
Nice egg.
Jan, what about you? What's your electric company?
Appalachian something.
All right, ours is Union something or other. None of us write a check to the U.S. federal government.
No.
For our electricity. So why the hell is the U.S. federal government talking about having to be responsible to replace our electric grid? Isn't the electric in this company a privately owned entity, a privately owned, organization?
Not the grid.
They are going to try to justify it as providing for the common defense
or interstate commerce.
Yeah, but did the federal government pay for that? Because if the federal government is going to pay for that grid, look, I'm going to have a construction project coming up this coming spring or summer, maybe, hopefully. I'm not exactly sure where it is. What I'm going to wind up doing is I'm going to wind up putting up a building approximately 500 feet away from the main road. Okay, 500 feet away from the main road. That's how far back my building is going to be. I need electricity brought over to the building. Now, I've always been under the impression that I'm responsible for the power line coming to if I have a line coming overhead to the roof of my house, I'm responsible for the line from the weatherhead down as part of my installation. I'm responsible to pay from the wire from the weatherhead to the pole, and it's usually $75, $100 a foot rather. If your power comes in underground, you're only responsible for the line coming in from your meter pan into your what do you go? Now, when I build my building, is the government going to come and run that 500 feet of line from their main service to the building I need? Because if they're responsible for the grid, that's part of the grid. I don't understand who put all the power lines in the first place. I've never seen a U.S. government vehicle running power lines.
Okay, I'm going to stop everybody right there. I want you to listen very, very carefully to these words that I'm going to read. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed, that whenever any form of government becomes destructive to these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it and institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall be most likely to affect their safety and happiness. Okay, obviously, the American people right now believe that the government is affecting their safety and happiness.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because the American people grant their consent to be governed by the government that is in position right now. Okay, and the only way to change that government is for the American people to change it. And all we do is we bitch about it week in, week out. Everyone bitches about government. Nobody's taking action to actually change that government.
Well,
because can't
outside
be
of the,
bothered.
well, listen, the only thing that we can do to
Okay?
affect change in government
And
right
if you
now
can't be bothered
is
with it,
lawsuits
you
and
are
elections.
consenting.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to have to get out of here in a couple of minutes. I have another obligation I have to meet this evening, and it's called medicating my dog and taking care of stuff. Before I go, just wanted to let everybody know that the Liberty First Foundation posted earlier today, well, actually at about 10:45 last night, that we made our official endorsements for uh, the board of directors members candidates for the 2023 elections to the NRA, and the three people that of the list of names that are on the list, there's three that stand out to us that we know, have worked with, have relationships with, and it's not because they're friends, it's not because of any of this, but it's because they've earned our trust and they have a shared value. And the people that we felt this year would best represent us in the board of directors of the NRA are Amanda Suffolcool, Rick Hector, and Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson of North Carolina. And if you go to the homepage at www.l1f.us or any of our Facebook pages or anywhere else, you'll find the link to the article with a detailed reasoning and some information on each of the candidates. Now, there are a number of votes that you can make. A lot. You can vote for a lot of the people on the list, but we just hope that in your voting that you take into consideration our recommendations. We're not telling you what to or not to do, but just to let you know that these are the people that we know give a damn, and they put so much of themselves into what they do that we have faith, confidence, and trust in them. And if you'd be kind enough to throw a vote their way, I'm sure they would appreciate it. And if you find the link in the article and you know NRA members, please copy the link, share the link, spread it around, get the word out, because the voting is only going to be to, I believe, the end of March. All voting has got to be submitted by then. And the new board is going to be announced at the NRA annual meeting. So if you'd be kind enough to take care of that, not for us, but for you. And, a lot of people have issues with the NRA, but the fact is they are America's oldest civil rights organization. And if you have an issue, like Michael was just talking about, with the way you feel that you're being governed, vote. Let your voice be heard. Let you yourself have to be the change. If you're not going to put your name in the hat and go for one of those spots, at least vote for the person that you think is going to best represent you. So with that, I'm going to be signing off. Jan, Michael, good night, everybody. Everybody in the audience tonight, thank you very much. God bless you. You guys be safe, shoot straight. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you on the flip-flop. Keep an eye on the YouTube channel this weekend because we have a couple of very, very big videos coming in if YouTube doesn't take them down. So we'll see.
Absolutely.
Take care, everybody. Have a good night.
All right.
Have a great night, Mike. Okay.
I wanted to hit on something Dahl had posted on
So,
here about
what?
What does it say? The mandatory immunization in hospitals now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. If you go into a hospital, if you go in for, Frank, you're still there. Okay. If you go into a hospital for any kind of procedure, open heart, whatever it might be, while you're on the table, the doctors can, under life-saving procedures, decide to immunize you or provide you with the vaccines, even if you do not give consent. And a lot of people don't know that that can happen. That if you're having a medical
Well,
procedure,
I know that when I went in for my procedure, because I know that that was something they were talking about doing, but I hadn't heard that it went through, and I don't know if it's just where you guys live or what, but like I specifically tell them because I heard, well, to start with, I heard at one point when you even sign your admission that they were putting it in there.
no, you don't. It doesn't matter if you sign, give consent or not. Once you're on the table, as a matter of life-saving procedures, it would fall under life-saving procedures, extreme um, efforts to save your life. It can. Not every state recognizes that. Not every hospital recognizes that, but they can use that as the justification for providing you with the vax, even if they
Now
know.
you can. There is a caveat to this.
Mhm.
Okay, you can do what's called a DNR,
Yeah, that would be the
Wes,
way out.
Yeah.
and you can do a specific DNR. In other words, you can list specific actions that medical personnel are not allowed to take in efforts to save your life.
Yeah.
What the hell does a damn vaccine have to do with saving your life when you're under the knife? It has absolutely nothing.
It's the justification they put out there. And for people who don't know, a DNR is a do not resuscitate order. It means that they can't take life-saving procedures to keep you alive.
They can't
But
take extraordinary life-saving
that's it.
procedures.
But
Okay, and then
as
there's
Mike said,
various levels of DNR that you can enact.
right.
You can actually enact where they aren't allowed to do certain actions in order to save your life, i.e., if you don't want to be put on a machine, okay, to keep you alive, you can actually have that put in a DNR.
Well,
You can have every other life-saving measure up to this put in there. You can list specific items that medical professionals aren't allowed to do in response to trying to save your life, i.e., if you don't want to get vaccinated, if you, let's say, for whatever reason, you have a problem with somebody else's blood being put into you, you can actually refuse transfusions.
did you hear?
What?
Speaking of
Right.
speaking of transfusions, did you hear that there is a company that is started up for basically what they're calling pure blood that you are going to be able to request for procedures?
No, I've never heard that. But I
Yeah.
do know that like when I had major surgery on a leg after a car accident, after I got hit by a car on my motorcycle. And what they did in that case was they took my own blood ahead of time.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they
You can
used
do
my
that
own blood
too.
for the
And
procedure.
Yeah,
you
well,
can
the only reason why I was
also
asking, the only reason I was talking, wanted to comment on that and stuff is because I am a participant. I have a card and everything. I am a participant in a non-vaccinated study. We report every month. This is something that's worldwide. And when I go to the doctor, like even when I went in for my procedure in December, you know, they talk, they ask about this, they ask about that. And I say, well, I want this to be known. You need to make a copy of this card.
Mm-hmm.
And they look at it and they go, well, I've never heard of that. And it's like,
how
yeah,
many
there's
medical
over,
studies have you heard of?
yeah,
Yeah.
well, it's like
Okay,
there's
I
over,
guarantee you haven't heard of
there's
all of them.
over so many thousands of people worldwide that are involved in this study. So if I'm under, you can't do this to me because it goes against the study.
No, not everyone's going to have access to the study, but
They
and
can
for
get access. It's for free. All you do is
Yeah, all you
sign
have to
up.
do is request to be a member of the study.
All you have to do it's online. I can post the link in the group.
Okay.
Because they're actually now taking vaccine people because they want to study that now too and compare.
Makes sense. And of course,
Basically,
for the censors,
and they
we're
need
not.
to.
Yeah. But for the censors, we're not doctors. We're not giving medical advice. Talk to your medical professional. The whole thing that YouTube wants you to do. Throw that out there.
Yeah, I'll post a link in the group so anybody wants to check it out because they it's not
And mind you,
they post their findings, they post they post all kinds of stuff in there. And you just have to go in and report your health, how you've been feeling once a month.
mm-hmm. And
What were you gonna say,
mind
Mike?
you, we are medical professionals. Okay, we do our own research, and we encourage everyone out there to do their own research to determine on whether or not the vaccine is right for you. If you believe the vaccine is right for you, then by all means, get it, get your boosters. Okay, we aren't in a position to say who the vaccine's for and who it's not for. We've each made our individual choices on whether or not we are going to be vaccinated or not vaccinated. And that's the choice we live with. That's also we have made the choice to abide by the consequences of that decision.
Mhm.
And mind you, getting the vaccine also comes with its own inherent risks and consequences. And by making that choice, you have agreed to those risks and consequences. Okay. So you need to weigh this. And that's why vaccines should never, ever, ever be mandated for
Yep.
anybody. Okay. No medical procedure should ever be mandated for anybody. It is an individual choice that needs to be discussed between you and your doctor. And then you need to make that decision based on the information that you have as to what is right for your medical well-being.
Exactly. Exactly. It should be that simple.
Well, that's where a country was designed to be.
Yeah.
But they twisted the Constitution to such extremes that we aren't that way. Okay. And they use stuff like for the public good, for the safety of the public, a compelling government interest, and all these other statements. And all these statements are literally them saying, hey, guess what? We're not going to abide by the Constitution that we swore an oath to. Every time they make that statement, that is exactly what they're telling the American public.
Yeah. It's crazy. It really is. It's one of those things that just so much aggravation. I tell you, it gets overwhelming sometimes.
It is. Okay. And the thing is just like I read out, and that, by the way, if people didn't recognize that, that's from the Declaration of Independence.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And back then, we knew that in order to be governed, you must consent to it. And I don't care what level of government you're in. Okay. If you're in a dictatorship, you consent to be governed that way. Okay. The only way that you are actually ever governed is if you consent to it. You consent to drive at the speed limit. Okay. That's a choice you made. That is your consent of government controlling you. All these laws and everything else that we talk about being unconstitutional and everything else that get passed, just as soon as you start abiding by that law, whatever law it is, you have then granted consent to be governed by that authority, and you have granted that authority to whatever level of government you've granted it to. Okay, whether it's local, state, or whatever. And the only way to actually get unconstitutional laws to stop is for us to quit giving our consent to be governed unconstitutionally.
Yep. People have to speak up. They got to step up. They got to speak up. So the only way we change these things. And can't be afraid of the government, local, state, or federal, coming out and saying, you can't say that. They don't get that choice.
Well, here's the thing. Okay. We hear about all these Supreme Court cases that happen. The only way a law can be challenged in court is for you to prove standing. The only way for you to prove standing is to show that you were irreparably harmed by somebody else, by whatever you're challenging. Okay, that gives you standing. The easiest way to show irreparable harm is to show that you were actually wrongly incarcerated, wrongly fined, or whatever. Okay, if you were wrongfully charged by such a law, you have standing at that point. You challenge that law.
I think my biggest question on the vaccine, though, is they put in there that they can't be prosecuted, that they're not responsible for any side effects that may happen.
Yeah, they waived the liability.
Yeah, they waived the liability.
Although
I saw the Swiss have brought up a lawsuit, and there's another country that just recently did it. Now, are they being able to do this because not the fact that they waived the liability, but because of the lie?
Here's the thing on that. Okay. The manufacturers aren't liable, and that's because of federal law that on vaccines. When the federal government relieved manufacturers of liabilities on vaccines, the federal government at that point stated that they were assuming responsibility for any issues with those vaccines.
So the waiver actually transferred the liability.
You still have a course. If you are irreparably harmed by a vaccine, you have recourse by suing the federal government. Okay, and the only time that those vaccines are responsibility is relieved from manufacturers on vaccines is when it is a government mandated vaccine.
Well, okay. I understand.
That relieves manufacturers of liability on.
Right. Well, I understand to a degree with the manufacturers, because we don't want them suing the gun manufacturers for somebody going out and committing heinous crimes. You know, it's not the manufacturers.
There is a big difference between suing gun manufacturers and suing vaccine manufacturers. Okay, a gun doesn't go out and shoot somebody.
Right.
A person does. Okay. As far as vaccines and as far as any medication goes, we are trusting the manufacturer to provide a safe product to put in our body for a medical necessity.
The key would be the side effects that come from, no matter what medication you may take, they all have some degree of side effects for some portion of the population.
But it should show you that question should have been done from the very beginning with this. When they show you, they open up the case that the shot comes, the vaccine comes in, and they open the pamphlet and it's blank on both sides.
Well, it's because it's an experimental drug, and the manufacturers were smart enough not to put anything in there that they could be held liable for, separate of, because if it's wording in there, it could be said that anything they said was misrepresentation, potentially
and
in the
also,
future.
and that's there right there is another good point. If a drug manufacturer makes it known that their medication can cause certain side effects, then that also helps alleviate some of the responsibility that manufacturer has.
Right.
So that's why they started coming out stating that they knew that it could cause, I can't say it, myocarditis.
Myocarditis.
Because some of it, you're hearing reports now where this, they're coming out and talking about, well, we knew this could be a possibility.
Well, what
Even
they
if
did
they
is
knew it, they had to make the people know it.
well,
Okay,
this is
I
what they
can know
did.
something, and if I withhold that information from you, and it harms you, then I am liable for that.
But see, what the pharmaceutical companies did, or what they've been stating in Europe and in the US, is that they told the governments, and the governments knew that this was experimental and that there was a potential for side effects, which at that point, we're talking about a year and a half ago, they didn't know because they haven't had a chance to experiment with it. And so, but they did know it wasn't designed to do certain things that were being promised, like when Joe Biden promised that there was no ability for transmission. Well, they had already told, the manufacturers had already told the government, we didn't design it for that. That wasn't part of the parameters you asked of us. So that's why they're admitting it now, because they're like, no, we already told the government it was never designed for that. That was never part of the thing. Government said that. That's on the government, that's why they're telling us now. It's avoiding that loophole of liability that you misinformed the government and the government misinformed the public. They're like, no, government misinformed the public all on their own. We never, ever made it for that. Government knew that. So they're trying to get out of a loophole of liability that could come back to them.
Well,
putting it on the
I
government.
think the liability should be from the very get-go. You have no right to force any type of medication on people that's in an experimental mode. Nuremberg.
Well, there should.
I agree.
Government should never be able to force any medical procedure on any individual.
I agree.
Okay, regardless of what that procedure is. Okay, government should never, ever be involved with that. They can be involved in making sure that the medical procedures that you receive are safe, but they can't force a medical procedure on you, even if it is for your own good.
That's the double edge of freedom. And that's the way it should be.
And that's the thing. Okay, I want to read one particular question back out of the Constitution. Okay. That all men are created equal, that they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men. Key phrase, that to secure these rights, government's responsibility isn't to keep you safe. Government's responsibility isn't, its only responsibility is to secure your rights. Okay, that means to protect your rights. That is their entire purpose, is to protect your rights from being infringed upon by government, by international entities, and by your fellow citizens. Okay,
Which they totally,
and right
They
now,
totally
our government
violated
is
for the last 2.5 years.
Yes.
right now, government is the worst offender when it comes to violating our rights.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They absolutely
Okay.
are.
And that is the exact opposite of what they are supposed to be. They are supposed to be there to secure our rights.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
Okay. I mean, even in the preamble of the Constitution, it talks about that. In order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, and provide for the common defense and promote the general welfare and secure, quote, secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution of the United States. Okay? Right there. And to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves. Okay? Blessings of liberty to secure our rights. Because liberty is rights.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand that. Okay? Liberty are rights tempered with I'm drawing a blank.
Well, rights
Basically,
are. Yeah.
okay, I can't think of the other word for it right now.
Yeah.
But that's it. Okay. Government is there not to provide for us. It is there to make sure our rights are not infringed upon. That is why we have a Bill of Rights that was adopted very shortly after the Constitution was ratified.
Yeah.
Okay? Wake up, people. Our government isn't there to take away our rights. We need to quit allowing them to do so. We need to quit giving our consent for them to take away our rights. Because what we consented to back in 1787 and again in 1791 was for government to secure our rights, to protect our rights. That is what our country was based upon. That is what our government was based upon. And we don't have that today.
No, not even close. Not even close today. And we've gone through it in everything we've been talking about today. National security, whether it's balloons or some of the other, the open border things we've been talking about, and all the aspects of sneaking things into our government, West Virginia, New York, they're passing these bills behind our back that are taking away our freedoms. This is not what it was intended to be. All of these discussions, not talking openly and honestly and transparently about the actual economy, the things that are actually affecting us, what they're spending money on that they shouldn't actually have in the first place. None of this is what was intended, but we're allowing it to happen, and we're letting it happen without our voices being heard because the majority of people just aren't talking. You can't move forward if you don't move. You can't improve a situation if you don't actually try to do something about that situation. People got to remember that. That's the key. That's why we have these rights, is to use them, to speak up. You have the right, you have the freedom of speech. Use it. Otherwise, you lose it. If you're not speaking, you are already silenced. I mean, that's the way I see that.
That's why I keep getting kicked off Facebook and everything else, because I refuse to give up my free speech.
Exactly.
And again, like I said, When you choose to abide by an unjust, unconstitutional law, you have just given the government that enacted that law the consent to enforce that law.
Yeah.
Very simple. Very, very simple. Okay. If you don't like a law that's been passed, challenge it. Peacefully not comply.
Mhm.
Peaceful noncompliance is a form of government redress. But we have that right. We have the right to redress. Okay. And yeah, odds are if they choose to charge you, you're going to get arrested. You're going to have to go to court. But the only way to prove that a law is unjust or unconstitutional is to not comply with it. Go through the process.
Mhm.
Okay. You're going to be judged by a jury of your peers.
No, the process works fine when you use the process, when you go through the process. Most of the time, people just don't. And that's the biggest problem.
Well, Dell says it right there.
Well, and here's the other thing. With liberty comes sacrifice. Okay. And if you want to maintain your liberty, you've got to be willing to challenge unconstitutional, unjust laws. And if you're not willing to challenge them and put your freedom at risk, okay, and put yourself out there, then guess what? You're consenting to be governed unjustly. You're consenting to that. Okay. Not everything that is legal is just.
No.
And you can look at that. Okay. The people that hid Anne Frank were violating the law. The people that put Anne Frank into concentration camps were following the law.
True
Okay.
enough.
The people that hid Jews all throughout Germany, Poland, France, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. They were breaking the law. The people that were murdering the Jews by the millions were following the law. And I want you to think about that. Okay. And yeah, that is an extreme example. I'll fully admit that. That is an extreme example.
But it's a good example.
But it didn't start that way. It did not start that way. Okay. It was legal in this country to force sterilization upon people that were considered not smart enough. It was legal in this country to force Native Americans to have abortions and to be sterilized. It was legal in this country for the government to lie to Black Americans and tell them that they were treating them for syphilis when they weren't, and were letting syphilis ravage their bodies. Okay. What is legal is not necessarily just. And
Sure.
we, as Americans, that is our birthright. Okay, it was the birth of this country was to challenge unjust laws. That's the whole purpose behind the Constitution, was to give us the mechanisms and the tools to be able to do that. That is why we are a country that is supposed to be governed by the people. Well, when the people aren't involved, guess what? Government goes its own way. We can't be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people if the people refuse to be involved with it.
No, I agree with you.
Dal's posting some other good ones.
Yeah, Dow has some. He's got good stuff.
Yeah, he does.
Where is that?
Oh, at one point, it was legal in this country if you were Japanese, of Japanese descent, to be locked up in prisons, essentially locked up in concentration camps because you had Japanese blood.
Yeah, the Japanese internment.
Yep. Okay. I mean, come on, folks. Wake up. It is up to us, the people of the United States of America, to challenge our government when it's acting out of order. And it is definitely acting out of order. And I don't care what party you belong to. Okay? We have to be involved. We have to hold our government accountable to the standards set forth in the Constitution. And when we fail to do that, we ruin ourselves as a nation.
Sure. There it is. I was looking for something for Dow here.
Okay. I'm through with the soapbox tonight. Okay, because we go through this every week.
True.
And if nothing else comes out of this, I hope we wake America up to start becoming more and more involved. Okay, because again, like I said, the only way that we can be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people is for the people to be involved. And that means being involved more than just going to the ballot box once a year, or once every other year, or once every 4 years.
But I think
Okay, and some people can't even be bothered to do that.
But I think it's an important note that, yes, it is hit on every week because that's what this whole organization is about.
True.
Very true. And with that, I do want to step up on my soapbox again and let be known that right now we are in the process of doing our membership drive for 2023. And
how is that going? How many members have we got so far?
We've gotten a handful of members. I mean, we haven't raised a lot of money. And one of the reasons why we haven't is getting the word out. We need people to help get the word out about our organization, about what we do. Okay. And it's more than just sharing our videos and stuff like that. It means literally telling people about what we do. Okay. If you're talking about politics or something, say, hey, I know this organization is great. They're out there fighting for your rights. and tell them about us. Tell them about what we do. Okay, I got into a conversation today with a gentleman, great guy. Okay, and he's of the opinion that neither party works for us, just like I am. Okay, and the parties don't. The parties look at their own special interests, and that's all they're interested in. They try to say that they're for the people, but they're not. And we need to start realizing that, start understanding. Okay, the only one that is for you is you. So if you want government to start changing, you want government to start treating you like you're supposed to be treated, then you need to start taking action. Because who's best to look out for? Yourself. Okay? I can't look out for you. I'll fight tooth and nail to defend your rights. But ultimately the responsibility is yours. Now that we are, like I said, in our membership drive, and we're pushing to get more members so that we can get our message out to more people. And one other benefit is, as members, we can better represent a group of people that makes our voice louder. The more members we have, the louder our voice becomes. It also allows us to actually reach people that we normally wouldn't reach with our growth. Okay, so even if they don't want to become a member, have them just join up and sign up for our website, become a free member. Even that helps us. All of this helps. Driving traffic through our website, driving people to our Facebook page, sharing information on our YouTube channels. All of that stuff helps us out. Because ultimately, we're not in this to make money. We need money to continue doing what we're doing and to expand upon what we're doing. But we're not in it to make money. Marshall had a thought about that word free state. Sorry, I was distracted by a comment. So we need to start with organizations. And if Liberty First Foundation isn't the right organization for you, then so be it. Find one that is. Okay? Because there are countless organizations that are in this fight along with us. Okay? Mm-hmm. You've got the Second Amendment Foundation, you've got the NRA, you've got Gun Owners of America, you've got the 10th Amendment Foundation, you've got the Cato Institute, mm-hmm. The National Constitution Center, and other organizations out there that are doing this. Okay? So if you don't believe in what we're telling you, you don't think we're representing the way the Constitution is as you see it, get involved in one of these other organizations. Okay? But get involved. That's it. That's the bottom line of all of this, is get involved.
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We're going on 2.5 hours now. And it seems like that's about the duration of most of our shows. It's about 2.5 hours.
Yeah, it goes like that.
I appreciate everybody bearing with us and joining the show and all the comments. Dal, great. Thank you for all the comments again tonight. We do appreciate it. I agree with you on that, Dal. I wish we had Law Shield or USCCA available here in New York. But unfortunately, New York has basically outlawed them from operating in the state of New York. That's because New York does not believe that people have an inalienable right to self-defense. And that anytime that you are confronted in a situation where your life is put on the line, it is your duty to retreat. And you are not allowed to actually save your life.
Dal, definitely come on one night.
Oh, you'll love it.
Yeah,
Dal is
Dal,
fun.
You are more than welcome to join us any night. We would love to have you on.
Yeah. He's got
So
a great insight.
Go ahead. Start closing down the show. Jan, Michael, do either one of you have any final comments before we shut things down?
No, I thought we covered a lot of stuff today, and I think it was a good show. I'm happy to have the conversation.
You don't have to have a camera, Del. Just have a microphone.
Yeah.
Okay. There's times when I've done the show without a camera. So yeah, we'd love to have you on. You offer a lot of great insight. And actually anybody that would like to be on, just send me a message in Facebook, and we'll get you on. If you're not a member of Facebook, you can also email me, michael@l1f.us, and I will be glad to have you on the show. I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. It doesn't matter to me. Okay. The thing is we are here to have open, honest dialogues. And if your opinion is different than mine, great. I'd love to debate you about it. Okay? Who knows? You may change my mind. But don't know if you don't try.
Exactly.
So, that being said, again, I want to thank all of our viewers. I want to thank Dal and everybody in the comments for participating. Jan, thank you for being here tonight. Michael, same with you. Thank you for being here. And we will see you again next week, Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find us on Facebook and YouTube with our live streams. You can also follow us on Instagram and Twitter. And with that, we're going to go ahead and say goodnight and have a great week.
Good night, guys.
Night, everyone.